But the other group is starting to come out now, so we can just move over there and wait till they are out. Inside that building, there are benches surrounding the table, so we can sit down. If we are close friends with each other, there will be room for all of us. And mind your head when you go inside, and there's a bit of a step as well. So. Any idea? 20? No, actually not a wild guess. Around 15 could live in a house like this all their life. So they were eating here, sleeping here, working here, staying here at their spare time, everything. But as you can see around the table, there's room for a lot of people. But some of you are actually placed wrong today, because the men are supposed to sit in the back and the women in the front. And I don't know if you're the head of the group, but the head of the farm was supposed to sit at the end. And actually you can tell that it has been a woman's bench because there are some holes on the end of the bench. And that is because they went spinning wool all the time. So they had more like a hand spinner, about this size, with a wheel on it. So they could just spin, they could just spin the wool. But when they were either going to cook or eat, they could just place the hand spinner in those holes, and they could finish their work afterwards. But with 15 persons in here, we clearly have a problem, because there are only 2 beds. One here for the grandparents, and one here for the parents, maybe a child. The rest, any idea? On the floor? Yeah, people keep telling me that you could sleep on the floor inside here. But we have to remember that there were 2 or 3 goats wandering around. And they actually thought, as I have been telling you, the people from Setesdal wasn't that clean. So they actually thought that dirt on the floor was good for insulation. So instead of washing it out, they just like pressed it into the gaps. And thought that it would get warmer inside. So actually, I wouldn't leave my head on this floor, but they were actually sleeping outside in the cow shed with the cows in the sheep. But I think that was a better spot to take a nap, because the animals are warm all day and all night. Inside here you had to have the fireplace on at all time. You had to have the gap in the roof open and the door open as well to get the smoke out. So when the fireplace died, it was extremely cold inside here. And in the winter time, it was always cold. And some of you asked me about the temperatures. Here in Kristiansand, we have 10 degrees below zero. In Setesdal gets up to 30 degrees below zero and 2 meters of snow. So life was tough. So I would prefer sleeping next to a cow. But as you can see from the walls here, they are very dark, so there has been a lot of smoke in a room like this. But there is another problem with the beds. They are very short. And as you have noticed, the doors are very short as well. But people keep telling me that it doesn't matter. People were shorter back in the days. We were not this short. So the average size of men about 1700s was about my size. So we were not this short. But they didn't need longer beds because they were sitting up all night. I think one reason could be because of the smoke. It's a lot easier to breathe when you're a bit lifted with the chest. But another reason is actually that they were extremely superstitious. So they thought that only dead people could be lying flat. And they thought that actually your soul will leave your body and you would actually die if you were lying totally down. So they didn't need longer beds if they were going to sit up anyways. That is why. And I can can tell you a little bit about what they were eating, because they were hard workers, and of course they needed good food. And the activities was divided between men and women. The men were supposed to take care of the horses and the heavy work in the forest, getting wood, for example, and stuff like that. The women were supposed to take care of the children, making the clothes, making food, and the daily work at the farm, getting water in winter time because you had to melt snow, and of course the cows and the sheep as well. The women were supposed to make food, and they had a lot of soups, oatmeal porridges. They didn't have that much meat, either meat or fish, because of course they had animals, but they wanted to have the milk and the wool instead of meat. And in addition to every meal, they had a thin, flat, more like crispy bread. In Norwegian, it's called flatbrød, so flat bread, and it's without any yeast. So you can actually make extremely large portions of that bread in autumn and spring, and it stays, you can preserve it a long time. But of course they had cows, so they had milk. I don't know, I like my milk cold, like really cold, right from the fridge. But they actually stored it up here at the wall for about a week before they even touched it. So of course they drank sour milk. And they had a filter like this one. Imagine the milk after a week. There were a lot of flies in it and stuff. So they had a filter like this one here. And they actually cut off the tip of a cow's tail, the hairy part. They washed the hairs and they braided more like a cloth to cover the hole. And then they could filter the milk. I don't know how clean it was after filtering it, but of course out of the milk you could make cheese and butter. And you could actually take the cheese and the butter to a local market, and you can trade it for stuff that you couldn't make on your own. For example, stuff like this here, and nails, for example. But we have a bit of a hurry, so we can move on, and we can meet in front of the white building over here.
So I could think of, like, putting the kid in and walking in. Because that sure looks like a chair van.
Yeah, it does. That's what I said.
I agree with that. I was agreeing with you. Yes, that's what it is.
So first I can tell you that this building here is just a more modern version of the elder building. So they learned new techniques and they saved money for a longer period of time, and they could eventually build a new house like this one here. But I would just like to tell you about these stockings. Do you think they are for men or women?
I hope they're for
Men, yeah.
Before they were married.
There are room for a lot of muscles in here. But they are actually women's stockings. Because as I told you, the bunad varies from place to place. And the woman's skirt in Setesdal is actually very short. So it stops up here. So you needed to have nice stockings. And these stockings has the typical pattern from Setesdal. And as I have been telling you, they were hard workers, didn't have that much good food. None of them were this big. None of them. But it was considered nice to have large legs. So if the men were supposed to find a woman to marry, she would look at the legs. Oh, he would look at the legs. Sorry, he would look at the legs. If you had large legs, that meant that you could work a lot on the farm. So he wanted a woman with large legs. But as I said, none of them were this big. So they actually went stuffing their stockings to pretend to be bigger than they actually were. So they filled it up with grass, hay, leftovers. So people keep telling me that nothing's changed. And then we have this one here. Any idea what it could be?
Nope.
I can tell you that in Norwegian it's called mangletre. An English version could be a mango. Any idea now? Yeah. It's actually an old-fashioned iron. You put the clothing around a wooden stick with no heat, just a little bit wet clothing. You rolled it around the stick, you put that stick on the table, then you went like this. So you went pushing the stick and you went rolling it on the table. But this was actually a gift as well, from the man to the woman he wanted to marry. So nowadays we get a ring, back in the days, this one. But the man were supposed to make this on his own. So this was supposed to look like a horse. Remember I told you that the horses were the men's animal. So this was supposed to look like a horse, symbolizing the man's strength and force. And here you have nice carvings, because you were supposed to have nice patterns to watch out for the family. You had the circles, because that was symbolizing the sun, and they thought that the sun was giving you protection. So the nicer the mango was, the more likely the girl said yes. And if the girl accepted the marriage, she kept the mango. If she didn't want to get married, she gave it back. So I don't know if this guy got married the first time he tried, because this isn't a very good mango. Because we have a better version, so you can see the difference. Like this one here. This one here is from 1762. So back in that time it had a nice painting as well. And if I was supposed to pick in the 1700s, I would marry that guy. So, yeah. Yeah.